Welcome to the Twist Out Cancer podcast, which delves into the emotional journeys of those touched by cancer, offering a platform for survivors, caregivers, previvors, and loved ones to share their experiences. Through intimate conversations, this podcast explores the power of creativity and connection in navigating the challenges of cancer. Guests will discuss the transformative impact of Twist Out Cancer's unique programs and highlight the resilience of the human spirit. We're so happy you're here. Let's get into it.
Hi there, and welcome to Twist Out Cancer's podcast featuring Brushes with Cancer Spotlights. My name is August Spree. My pronouns are she, her, and today we are talking with inspiration Alique Topalian from Ohio and artist Jackie Carmody from Chicago. Alique and Jackie are matched in the current winter 2026 Brushes with Cancer program, which will have an art exhibition in Chicago in just a couple of weeks. We will talk about their involvement with Twist Out Cancer, how they became participants in the program, how their connection unfolded, and what they will carry with them from their experience together. Thank you so much for being here, Alique and Jackie.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. I'm so excited to.
Yeah, of course. I'm very excited to chat with you. I know that you were matched about 5 months ago when the program started, and we're about to close out the program cycle. Alique, I do want to start with you, though, if that's okay. Can you start by letting me know how you identify within the cancer community, survivor, thriver, everyone has their own preferred term, and then just give us a little bit about your diagnosis?
Yeah. So I am a 2-time acute myeloid leukemia survivor. I was diagnosed for the first time when I was 4 years old, and then I was in remission for 22 years until 2021, and I relapsed at 27. I guess I would say my identity in the field is like survivor, thriver, but I guess I really identify too with advocate, because I've really tried to use my voice to raise awareness for cancer research, cancer causes, and especially things focused on our adolescent young adult or AYA cancer community. So those of us who've been diagnosed between 18 to 39, because we're in a very different phase of life than the typical phase of cancer. And we're often told that we're too young for cancer. And so it's been kind of a goal and something I've really resonated with to kind of work in the advocacy space to help bring awareness to that.
Wow. Okay, I completely relate to that because I was 27 when
Yep,
I was
I was
diagnosed.
27. Yeah.
But no, you were 4.
Yeah, the
And
first
so this
time.
is really something you've been living with your
Yeah.
whole life.
I really like when I think about it sometimes, I feel like I don't really remember like life before cancer. Like I
Yeah.
have little blips, like core memories, I guess.
Yeah.
But, like, where it really starts and, where I kind of became cognizant of life and started having memories, I feel like from then on, has always kind of been a part of my story.
Yeah. Okay. So this is so interesting because often I have a discussion about how cancer changed your perspective on life, but it's been part of your perspective on life
It
from such
changed it
a early
still.
age. Well,
The
sure.
second Yeah, the second time definitely changed my perspective on, like, everything.
Yeah.
I feel
Tell us
like
about that.
I had gotten, like, used to it, I guess. When I got diagnosed being 22 years in remission, I feel like I had finally, for the first time, started getting over, like, fear of recurrence and starting to, like, stopping thinking that, like, every little thing that was happening was cancer,
Yeah.
just for cancer to kind of hit at that exact time.
Wow.
I feel like how I lived my life since then, and like what my focus and my priorities are have all changed so much. My husband and I were actually talking about this the other day because actually right after brushes is my 5-year anniversary of diagnosis. So the March 17th is actually like my 5 years since the day I got diagnosed.
Hmm.
And it's just kind of crazy to think what life is now, 5 years later, compared to who I was that day getting my diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think in my wildest dreams I could have anticipated everything that's happened since then. And I feel like I'm a more authentic version of myself. I
Oh,
feel like a happier version of myself because so many of the things that I feel like I always kind of bog me down or judgment or small anxieties that felt so big suddenly weren't as big anymore. And I feel like it really kind of helped me grow as a person in a different way.
I love that because I find that to be something that cancer thrivers and survivors do deal with, where the small stuff just stays the small stuff. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And some
Yep.
people who haven't been through that experience have a hard time with that. And so I think that's part of the common experience.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know though, if you were first diagnosed at 4, were you having to do regular scans and things through like your teen years and those years?
Yeah. So I feel like it was always kind of just something that was like a constant, if that makes sense. It started off like when I was being treated the first time, I actually went septic and I lost my right eye. So my right eye is actually a prosthetic. And I showed up to kindergarten still bald, and I actually didn't even have my prosthetic yet, which don't understand why my parents thought that was a good idea for a kindergartner. I was always dealing with the scans and, well, not scans technically, mine's blood work since I'm a leukemia survivor.
Mhm.
And I was doing, consistent follow up, but I also started getting late effects in my teen years, which is something I feel like we don't think about enough and talk about enough, where especially for our younger survivors, we start seeing like some of the most impactful or like detrimental late and long-term effects happening like 20 plus years after
Mhm.
diagnosis, like that phase where everybody thinks, oh, it's over, but now here's heart disease, here's metabolic disease, here's all of these other things that you never anticipated,
Yeah.
to start happening, but it's all happening because of the treatment that saved your life. And, I was sitting in a seminar once, and they were talking about pediatric cancer survivors and their exposures. And they said a 30-year-old childhood cancer survivor has basically the cellular aging of a 52-year-old. And I was sitting there and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, so I'm basically 52 as I'm sitting here at 30. And it was kind of a real wake up call, I guess you could say, for me.
Yeah.
And this all kind of came about because I also, when I finished treatment, I started doing research in survivorship and supportive services. Like I have my PhD in health promotion and education, and I switched my whole focus of my career. It was mental health and like connection to now it's kind of still mental health, but in the cancer space and connection and late and long term effects and how we can better care for our survivors across the whole lifespan,
Yeah.
because it doesn't just stop when treatment stops.
Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh, so much. First of all, PhD, like, yes,
Thank you.
go. But also for a moment there, I was thinking about like your parents
Oh, yeah.
because I'm a parent and just the dynamic of like having such a young child go through that and how every day they're probably just like thankful for another
Yeah.
day with you, to be able to watch you grow and stuff like that. And your loved ones. I
Yeah.
mean, I can imagine,
Yeah.
but here you are,
Yeah.
about to be 5 years away from that moment. And tell me what brought you like, how did you find out about Brushes with Cancer?
So, like I said, I'm a cancer researcher. So I go to like the largest cancer conference in the world is actually ASCO, like the American Society for Clinical Oncology. So I was there last year and I always spend like one day or like a half a day going to all the advocacy booths and the booths that are in the exhibit hall. And I walked up and there was a brushes booth there. And I had never heard of you guys before. And I like to know like all of the resources that are out there because then I share it with like other advocates and I share it with the patients I work with. So I always try to kind of, have a plethora of resources for things anybody might need.
Mhm.
And we started talking about kind of the art therapy programming and things
Wait,
that
who
you
did you
do.
talk to? Because I was there, but I don't think it was me.
Was it you? I don't know if it wasn't Jenna. It was,
Either
oh my God,
Amelia or maybe Aaron.
maybe.
We had a few of us that were kind of circulating and then also at the
Yeah.
booth. Yeah.
'Cause I
So
know it wasn't Jenna, because me and her met separately on another like, on a call later,
yeah.
but I remember they pulled out the book that you all have that shows like past like art experiences that people have had, and I was just so captivated by it, and I was like, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
I think this is just such an amazing program, and, like, I was so curious, like, I wonder what somebody would come up with for me, you know what I mean? Like, wonder what my story would kind of look like in any of these mediums, because you guys use so many. I was like, "I have no idea what it could possibly be,"
Yeah.
and then kind of seeing it all come together over time with Jackie has just been really amazing, and I'm so happy I got to, learn about this program, at ASCO, and it's something I've shared with others, and it turns out actually like my mom, and like Jenna now actually like know each other through the advocacy. So my mom owns a cancer nonprofit. Like I just figured that out last week and I was like, wow, what a small kind of world we live in.
It is for sure a small community. And also just I think I want to actually say for anyone who may be listening to this and doesn't know as much that the Brushes with Cancer program matches artists with those who have been affected by cancer, and the person who's been affected just shares their story and the artist creates on their behalf. So I think it's important to say that because when you're saying like you were so curious as to like what someone would create, that's the whole point is sharing your story and trusting someone else to
That's what it is too. Like even, some people when I first said it to them, they're like, oh, couldn't that be like really dark? You know what I mean? Like, are you scared with what they're gonna come up with? And I was like, no, like when I've been looking at all of the images that have come before, it's not dark, it's inspiring, like it's beautiful. It's fulfilling. You know what I mean? It's not a picture of darkness. It's the light that comes through it, you know?
Totally.
Oh,
Yeah, being an artist, meeting any of my matches in the past, but specifically with working with Alique, I was like, cancer may or may not show up in your artwork, but like this is artwork about you as a human and like how I'm interpreting you through images. And so
your
it's
story.
a program just about this human being who has a cancer experience. And sometimes the cancer is in the artwork, sometimes it's not, but it's really just this art piece that expresses who it is. It's exciting.
Right, because those of us who go through it, we are whole human beings. So it's nice to take a moment, even though the program is about the cancer experience, it's nice to take a moment to share yourself with someone whose whole entire job is to just make space for your story in its entirety. You don't have to, especially as women, I feel like we do that a lot. Like we have to pick which piece of ourself belong in what space. You
Yes.
you enter in, am I a mom here? Am I a PhD? Like you have to kind of enter into each space with a different hat on. And this is a space where you are in it because of this shared experience that you have with other participants, but you're coming in as a whole person. And
Exactly.
so I do want to talk to Jackie then about that piece. I have an unfair advantage, obviously, because Jackie is the director of Twist Shops for Twist Out Cancer. So we work together, and I've also known you as an artist and a friend for so long. But tell us why you decided to participate in this program cycle with everything else that you have going on.
Mhm. Definitely, yes. So, I've been an artist with Brushes with Cancer since 2013, which is wild to even just think about all of the years and all the versions of myself that have participated in the program. And I lost track of how many times I've been matched, but I took about 2 years off of being an artist just to kind of regain like some perspective, get my creative juices flowing again of just how to be my best self showing up for my match in this program. And so when the 2026 winter program like was announced, something just was compelling me to be like, you're ready to get back into it and become an artist again. And then immediately matching with a leak, we just clicked, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, even just only meeting virtually because she's located in Ohio, I'm in Chicago. It was always just such a pleasure to connect. And, we had life things come up like with calls, and I just felt like it was just connecting with a friend where we could text and like hold space for each other and like talk about just like the life stuff that was going on in our busy lives and then connect about the artwork. And so it was just a real pleasure to be a part of this year's program. I don't even remember your original question.
No, that answered it. And actually you answered my next question too. I was just gonna talk about like how you started connecting and things. But you know what? I want to say thank you for trusting me to match you again. It's always such a joy because I do know you well, so whenever we have someone, even if it's an artist who's participated with us before, we've gotten to know them a little bit better. It's nice to I love my job. I love being able to be like a non-romantic matchmaker. It's really good.
Amazing. You're so amazing.
Okay, so for both of you, did anything come up for you that was unexpected when, after you started sharing and connecting? So I don't know whichever wants to take it first.
I can share because I think we had discussed how the piece was going to come together. And so whenever I'm matched with someone, I kind of give the option of like, do you want to be surprised or do you want to be in this process with me along the way? And so we decided together that Alique was going to be part of the process. And I was kind of just brainstorming some different visuals that were coming up. And so when you view my artwork, it's a series of different small watercolor pictures that are kind of meant to capture these like snapshots of life throughout her lifespan. And so how it originally started, I just kept getting these visuals of like flowers growing out of the cement. And so I was asking for like different locations throughout her life that were meaningful. And so we were originally going to go with this idea of all these different like flowers of, in places, but then started just kind of sifting through some photos that she had given me and did some Instagram stalking and gathered just like some really beautiful photos, but then also having all of the characters in her life and the stories that she had told me to kind of piece it together, to then create a series of different photos or snapshots throughout life. So it shifted a bit of where the original idea was going to go to something similar, but in I think more meaningful and just based on the reveal and being able to share the final product. I feel like it was a really cool fit to be able to share what I experienced as an observer of her story and her life through these images, but then be able to present it to her of like, this is how you're perceived. You are this like amazing human, dog lover, partner, friend, like researcher, like all of these things. And if you look closely in the artwork, there's like these little Easter egg like details that are so specific to who she is. So
I have no doubt.
pleasure to create it. It was such a fun piece. It was actually the first time I've ever done a Brushes with Cancer artwork in watercoloring ink. I've never done a work in that medium before for this program. And so that felt really special because I feel like I can really capture the essence of who someone is and those fine details through the details of the ink pen.
Okay, so the unexpected piece for you was working with a different medium and in a different format, kind of. I mean, I've seen so many things from you, but I can't wait to see in person. And
I can't either.
we'll, you still have it or you?
I have it with me right now.
Okay, perfect. I was hoping. But before we get there, Alique, did anything unexpected come up for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of kind of unexpected things. I mean, we had talked, like she said, we had talked about what I thought it was going to be, and we didn't necessarily touch base before the final reveal of like when that changed. Like some parts of it are the same, and like the core of it in a way is the same, but it's not what we originally talked about. And I didn't know. And so that morning of our reveal, she had like sent me our artist statement and I read it and I started crying because like it itself was so beautiful, even without seeing the art and like the things that she captured, like things that she remembered, like the first image like has a daisy in it. And I told her like imagery about a daisy reminds me of my very best friend. And like, different things that we've been through with like our rescue dog, who is a whole handful, to say the least, but like been so important, like, throughout my life and my journey. And even different things from like when I talked about like being a childhood survivor and like how that was kind of isolating and feeling like an outsider and like being able to have even like things going back to that point captured, but then also going into like who I am now and like how things have changed. Like my husband's always been very adventurous. I was not. I was very much like a city girl. Like, I do not want to do the outdoorsy things. When I was in the hospital, all I wanted was to like see and do everything I could do. And I was so mad about like different experiences or things I had said no because I was like, now I might never get to do it. Like my husband would invite me to go on fishing trips with him to Tennessee. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like that sounds terrible. And like now that's one of our favorite things to do together. And it really just kind of opened this whole door. So even seeing like that part of it captured and then like where my husband and I are now, like he was applying to medical school from my hospital room and like he got in and we moved to Toledo 3 years ago
Mhm.
and like I still work in Cincy, but I go back and forth and like we're here like working our butts off and like we have our own little kind of oasis in this different city where we don't know many people and I don't know, I feel like she just captured so many different aspects of
Your
my
story.
story and my life and like the tiny details, she's absolutely correct. Like some of them I was like, wow, like I didn't even think that was like something memorable, you know what I mean? But it was like something that resonated and like it shows up in the art and it was just beautiful.
Okay, so I love how you're saying that about those tiny details. First of all, I know that about Jackie, that, that she's really good, obviously, having participated for so long with this program specifically, but also just who she is at remembering those details and paying attention. But also for the sake of this connection and program, to have someone see you
Yeah.
you know, in that way that is not someone who's already like built into your life or, that you might assume would care about these kinds of things and to be seen in that way can be so healing.
Yes.
At least that's been my experience to just, have essentially what would have been a stranger come along and say like, this is also beautiful and show that back to you
Yeah.
in this way can be so healing. Was there anything that surprised you? Like, I know you said a couple of things as far as the detail orientation, but where it was showing you something in a new light.
I think like it was like all of the pieces being put together, if that makes sense. Cause it is like six small little like or five is it five or six? I can't remember now off the top of my head. Five. I thought it was five.
Yeah.
And like just seeing like what she chose to do it, especially because it was different from what we had originally talked about. So I was expecting something, and I had been seeing Jackie. She like we follow each other on social media. Like she's been doing all of these like beautiful watercolors of like different buildings and like fronts of like houses and things like that. And so I didn't even think, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, she's really good at like doing this kind of architecture stuff. And then like reading it though, it was, and then seeing it even after reading it, I feel like reading it first almost made it even more special in a way, if that makes sense. Cause like I read it like an hour before our call basically. And so that
Okay,
hour,
wait.
I
So
mean,
the call you're referring to is your reveal.
yeah,
Mhm.
Okay. So this is where you got to see the art for the first
yeah.
time and
And
you read the statement about an hour before this.
yeah, and
Okay.
I, like, screenshot it, like, the first thing I did was, like, I screenshot the part about the daisy, and I sent it to my best friend, and I was like, when when you're known by people who don't even know you through me like that, you know what I mean? Like, because 'cause you're, like, such a piece of me, and, that and then I sent it to my husband too, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, it was really, really special, and I feel like something that gets kind of hard about being an advocate and like being a researcher in this space is like sometimes I feel like I don't really get to be like a patient anymore. Sometimes I have to kind of like remove myself from it and it's because it's also not my profession, right? And I feel like it was just really nice to be able to kind of have that back in a way. Like there wasn't anything about this that had to do with my career or advocacy. It was just me. And I feel like sometimes I lose sight of like how important that is and like being able to like hold space for myself as well as others. I feel like that I don't get to do that as much as I feel like maybe I should, especially after doing this. It made me realize that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just also made it very special too. And sometimes when I work in this space and I live in this space, sometimes it feels like, yeah, I guess you could say my whole life is cancer, right? Like, and that's something like people have like very hard line identities sometimes. Like, they're like, I don't want to be defined by my cancer. Like, I don't want that to be my whole life. Mine was like, I don't want to be defined by it, but I want to use it. If that makes sense, like, I want to use this experience to like
100%.
try to help others. And I don't know, it was just really nice to kind of be able to take a step back from the professional space for the first time in a while, like a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that 100% makes sense. I mean, I'm in the same position as a cancer survivor. And for the first 10 years, because I didn't find twist until 10 years after my diagnosis.
Yeah.
And that was 11 years ago. Wait, right? Something like
Yeah.
that. Anyways,
Like I said, I lose track. I'm like, we had our 10-year and I'm like everything else.
I know it just keeps rolling forward, which I love. But by the time I found out about this program, it was only the second year it had happened. And I kind of stumbled into an event and I'm looking at the art and I'm just like, wait, these are all people's stories. Who did this? And so I know that up until that point, I really didn't talk about. I was just like, I didn't want to tell people because the only people that I knew at that time, especially being diagnosed so young, and I was also pregnant when I was diagnosed. So it just became like a sob story. You know what I mean? And my
Yeah.
son is fine. He's 22 now. Everything turned out well. So I just felt like I just want to move on with my life.
Yeah.
And then coming into this program, I was volunteering at some other organizations because I did feel like I wanted to give back. I lost my grandmother to cancer and she raised me. So I felt like, okay, I'm doing this on her behalf, but I just like quietly did it.
Yeah.
And when I found this, I was just like, okay, this is really meaningful. This makes me feel like I'm turning what happened to me into something positive in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not that everyone needs to do that, but that's what made it meaningful for me. It made it feel like, oh, this
Yeah.
isn't some thing that happened to me that now I'm stressed about every year when I go for my for my blood
Right.
work, you know. So I completely understand that mentality and remembering to hold space for yourself too,
Yeah.
because you have to hold space for everybody else.
Yeah. And she captured me. Like, it was
Yes.
me, not just the professional, not just the cancer, but like myself, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay. So I know you just did your reveal not too long ago, and our event is coming up in like a week and a half.
I know.
Like I can't wait to give like the
I
biggest
know, me too. I'm so excited. Can't wait to
real
celebrate
like
with you.
it's just gonna feel like I don't know that we've known each other
Yes,
forever, which is
it
wild.
does. Like, when you said 5 months, I was like, "It's only been 5 months?"
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to celebrate with both of you, but I do want to take a moment and Jackie, have you kind of do your reveal with all of us
Yes,
who are
definitely.
watching.
So back up a little bit. Let me know if it's hard to hear. I'm going to kind of go through each of the art pieces through different frames
Okay.
so the viewer can know. So this is the first piece, and so the piece as a whole is called a series of fortunate events because I wanted to capture as if we were looking through a photo album of Alique's life, kind of like, people don't really print out photos anymore, but
Yeah.
we were kind of just looking like at her life in these snapshots. I wanted to kind of capture different pieces. And so being diagnosed at such a young age, it can kind of feel like you're just growing out of concrete in a way of just like against all odds. And the daisy, I just love that it represents like your best friend. And I'm sure we talked about that, but I also just kind of thought about like the innocence and like delicate nature of a daisy. It's just so pure and like I said, innocent in a way. And you're just like, I'm here and I'm gonna be here. So I just love the simplicity of the first image. And like I said, it's done in watercolor and ink.
I love this. I love this.
I do too.
And then we go over to this piece. So this is actually taken from a photograph of the hospital room that Alique would look out of. And she had told me that the sunsets were one of her favorite thing every day to kind of look out of, just to kind of ground her with like nature and like be able to see all of these things. And so to be able to kind of create this snapshot of all of the different details that were on her windowsill, I feel like it's like just so human. We all have our own like little cluster piles in our life, whether it's like our bedside table or our desks. So just to kind of like capture what her like view truly was, not just like the nature outside, but like what were the things that just were her little cluster of things kind of, um, make a space inside a place that is not where you really want to be. But the sunrise definitely just, and the sunflower. I don't have my notes,
It's
but
my favorite flower.
that's it's
Yeah.
like there is something significant about the sunflower. And so I added that in. That was not actually on the windowsill in the photograph, but I added that in just to a leak. Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
And then we're gonna go over one. They're a little bit out of order, but this was a view.
Uh,
You can correct me if I'm wrong, like one of the first apartments that you and your husband shared together, right? And these windows were like these, like almost floor to ceiling, like windows with like natural light and like
It was
all of
gorgeous.
these plants. And of course, our rescue dog. I also have a rescue dog who I'm obsessed with. So like adding this and just like almost felt like a bond between us of like our love for our pet and just like the therapeuticness of like having an animal in your life. But also just like this space, like this cozy little nook inside of her home. And like again, what it truly looked like to look out her window and like what would have been on her windowsill. So it really takes the viewer into her life and like what her perspective would be as if it's like
mm,
a snapshot in that time. And then we have the adventure piece. I apologize for anyone looking at there's a glare because of the glass. But my favorite detail, I'm gonna zoom in, are the sandals.
yeah.
Being someone I love like an outdoorsy situation and like hiking, and there is something about just like your sandals that you like hook on to your backpack or
Yeah.
Yeah.
like dangling off that just like are filthy but like can just come anywhere and like they just represent like the point of view of like being
Spirit
so
of adventure.
Yeah.
doing something outdoors. Yes, exactly. So I just know how much I love like my like sandals for hiking and outdoor stuff. So just to like include that, I think is so special.
I love that. Okay, so back it up for a second, and I want to just share for those who aren't watching, because we do have both the video and the audio. For those who aren't watching, we're looking at a collection of 5 small watercolor pieces that have been put together as one large piece. And each story that Jackie shared is reflected in each one of those pieces. It's amazing, Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So actually, this was a last minute addition. We did not talk about adding anything adventure or hiking related, but I couldn't resist it. Something was just like calling me to add the adventure. And it's one of my favorites. I just love
Yeah.
the like perspective of like kind of just like the future and like
Yeah,
looking at, of like more to
it
come.
does. I was going to say it
Yeah.
feels a little like future
Yeah.
forward looking. Yeah.
Yes. And I love the sky in person. Like the colors are just like really, really vibrant.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see in person.
Then we have our final one. This is a snapshot of like in her husband's current home of their dining room view outside their window. And so there's these like record players. I added this in the OU. That's where Alique went to undergrad, right? Yep. And so I had to do like a little tribute to that for her. And then just like kind of like how anyone would like just like know their own living room if they saw a
Yeah.
picture of it. I wanted to kind of have something like so simple, but that is so just her and her husband of like no matter where they are in their life, they're gonna know exactly like what
Yeah.
this view is. And like it just kind of represents like everyday life, like back to the human grind of like wake up, do the thing, like
Yeah.
your home. So I know it's like very simple when you look at it, but it's just a view that I wanted Alique to know is like hers. And like
Yeah.
thing that is so unique to her and her husband and like just whatever comes next. And so like you could see like their candlesticks. This I added a bouquet because the bouquet kind of represents like if we were to pick a flower from each time,
Mhm.
this would be like the final bouquet of like all of them coming together. And then like a little wine rack and these
Yeah.
jellyfish decorations
Yeah.
that are so cute that I
I love those.
photo. So
I
yeah.
love this. Okay, a series of fortunate events. Yeah, it feels
Yes.
like it's almost like you painted um a photo album
Yeah.
of Alique's viewpoint at different moments in
I
her
mean
life.
that's what came to be. And that was not like the starting point, but it built to become that. And then it just felt like it couldn't ever be anything but that. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, because each one is like a snapshot, you know, in time essentially, but also a piece of Alique's story.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's amazing. What do you think, Alique?
I think it's amazing. And there's like parts of it where like things like I didn't even necessarily say to Jackie that are like captured, if that makes sense. Like the picture with the dog. So like my dog knew I had cancer before I did. And then even after I got sick, she would start like guarding me. And whenever I would go get whenever she would act like that, I would go get my labs done and I was neutropenic. So like my dog also, and that
Wow.
apartment that she's in, like, it's still my favorite place I've ever lived. I loved that apartment, and I got diagnosed there, and I left, and we ended up having to move. So, like, I never got to actually, like, see it and, like, say goodbye because I was in the hospital. My best friends went and moved us out of that apartment for me to help him. Um, and, like, just to even see it, like, captured there and, like, bringing it back to that time, and, like, I just loved that space so much, and, yeah, just the whole thing, it's just absolutely beautiful, and, like, I know
Yeah.
that that's gonna feel the same way about, like, where we live now, like, in the future when we don't live here anymore, and I'm looking out and seeing that, it's just really amazing.
So you feel like, I mean, I know you've kind of said it already, but you do feel like Jackie captured what you
Yeah.
wanted to be captured about you.
Yeah, I don't even know if I knew what I wanted to be captured about me, and, like, I don't know if you were to ask me, like, "What captures you?" Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if it would've like, I don't know if I would've thought of it, but, like, when I saw it all put together, I was like, "That's it."
Yeah.
Like, yes, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I said that too. I was like, "I don't know how you did that," you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was things that, like, you don't even think about because it seems like the small things, but when you add all of the small things up, like, they become the big things, you know? The things that you remember most.
That is so great. Okay. That's a really good note to end on because one of
Well,
my
hearing that, like, I mean, sorry to interrupt, August, just as an artist, like, I just always, like, I couldn't even describe to you how I got there, like, in all of those different ways, but to hear that it resonates and it, like, means what I hoped it would mean to you, just, like, I'm floating above my body. It is not even, like, something I can ever comprehend, and I never wanna become immune to this feeling because it just is so unreal to be able to create something for someone that hits the target on the bullseye.
Yeah,
So, I don't know. I'm,
and
like,
you did.
floating best way possible.
Oh, Jackie, I know I love this connection. I love like this relationship here. And I was going to say one of my favorite quotes that I say all the time is the big picture is made up of little details
Yep,
in life, but also, I mean, it's just in everything. It applies to everything, really. And I think a leak from what you shared about your cancer journey, switching your decisions to go try things that you didn't want to try before and things like that. Like, that's also how I live. And that's something that cancer taught me. Like, the big picture is made up of these little details, these little moments that you can be present in that you might have let pass by before. And then, Jackie, to capture those. Just really so inspiring and moving.
it is.
Thank you both for sharing.
First, thank you for having
For,
us.
like, facilitating August.
Yeah.
I loved an opportunity just to process everything too, like being at the end of the program and having the event to look forward to next weekend. Like it's been so special today to just like take a hour to process together and like really just even like get out all of these thoughts and like emotions that have been going on inside my
Yeah.
head, like share it with both of you has been awesome.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see like unwrapping all of the art at the space to be able to hang it up is one of my favorite things because it's
Yeah.
like Christmas morning basically. Like
Yes.
so I can't wait to see this in person. I can't wait to celebrate with both of you, give you big hugs. And I will just say to our listeners and watchers, thank you for tuning in to the Twist Out Cancer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.